It's the beginning of an SMP, and this is how you can acquire the strongest armor in half the time it takes Ben Shapiro to move his mouse in Minecraft, using string dupers. But first, we need to know how to build this thing. One of the major advantages of using string dupers is the minimal amount of resources required to build it in order to acquire a much larger, infinite output. And here's all the materials you'll need to make a string duper. Furthermore, you can use any type of trapdoor. Pretty simple, right? At a minimum, this build can fit in a 4x6 rectangle. For storage, we can add hoppers and chests, and optionally add glass if we want to make our build more compact. To start off, we're going to be building a 2D dome for our first layer, like so. For our second layer, we're going to be building the same shape on top, excluding the two ends of our dome. Now we should have a shape like this, almost like two staircases on either side. Now let's add a temporary line of blocks in front of our dome. Now let's place 4 temporary blocks at the top of our dome on the inside on the second layer. We're going to remove the 2 blocks that are adjacent to the top of the dome and place our 2 trapdoors top up on the inside of these temporary blocks. We can break these temporary blocks now. I'll talk more about which trapdoor to place this final block on depending on the direction the water is flowing. But for now, since our water is going to be flowing west, we're going to place this block on the left trapdoor. And now we can place the lever on the block on top of the opposite trapdoor. We can also flick this so that the trapdoors close off. Next, we can add both of our water buckets so that they waterlog the 2 trapdoors. We can also now break these 4 blocks so that the water flows into the hole. And now we can destroy these temporary blocks. Lastly, we're going to place 2 tripwire hooks, one on either top of our 2 stairs on either side, and then complete the tripwire with string. Now we can use shears to break the piece of string of the tripwire and flick the lever, and now you have a string duper. Another one of these advantages of string dupers is once you've sheared the string and flicked the lever once, you can activate and deactivate the dupe by simply flicking the lever, meaning you don't have to use shears ever again, unless the machine breaks, obviously. So I can fly around my world, which I have a bunch of string dupers, and flick the levers and they'll all activate and deactivate since I've used shears on them before. Additionally, there's this major misconception that string dupers can only work when the water is flowing in the south direction. This is dependent on what trapdoor the block and lever are both on. So here I have 4 string dupers, all of them are facing each direction, north, east, south, and west. And as you can see, when I activate them, they all work. This is because the trapdoor the block and lever are on is different for north and west and south and east. So we have plenty of stacks of string. Now, what are we going to do with it? Well, we're first going to need a village. This is because string can be used to trade for emeralds with 2 villager professions, novice fishermen and journeyman fletchers. From these trades, we can acquire emeralds to purchase diamond armor from master armorers and experience to enchant and apply books to our gear, all in an effort to roll for a mending librarian villager. From here, we can choose between 1 or 3 paths when it comes to overall enchantments. We can either opt for the use of an enchanting table to roll for enchant and combine enchanted armor in an anvil, or roll for enchanted books from librarian villagers to trade and apply to our armor in an anvil, or a mixture of the 2. The only difference is the RNG based time to acquire the enchants from an enchanting table versus a librarian villager, of which the times for both will vary. So here I have an example of what a basic setup could look like given a preferred mixed path. I have a string duper, a pit for villagers to breed, individual holes for my fisherman villagers, individual holes for my librarians, an enchanting setup, and storage. With this setup being developed from the start of my world, it took me roughly 2.5 hours to acquire and max out my armor. And for a tip to speed up trading, by selecting the string trade, then holding down right shift and enter, hovering over the output trade and spamming right click, you can speed up this trading process. And not only that, we can acquire ancient debris through using string. We can craft wool out of 4 string, and we can use that wool with planks to craft beds. We can use these beds to explode mine at Y15 along trunk borders in the nether, where we can find ancient debris, and therefore acquire netherite armor, the strongest gear possible. So there you have it, string dupers, the future to early game SMP progression.